Right, so it's already past 12 p.m. here in the Netherlands. So good afternoon, everybody who tune in today to this live webinar. Today we're talking Lovable, which is the vibe coding app of 2025, probably. And actually, as a matter of fact, you might have heard that vibe coding has been chosen the word of the year. So if you still think, I'm not sure what vibe coding really means, make sure you go back to the previous webinar episodes, because we've been talking a lot about vibe coding. And I'm sure you'll understand what it is, what you can do with it, what you cannot do with it. So just go back and check this channel for the previous episodes. But today, I actually realized that it's the 5th webinar that I'm creating already. So for those of you who tune in today for the first time, my name is Marta, and I'm the Ladies Build with AI founder. I founded a learning community as well as a platform for women to get into the world of AI. And yes, we all use AI these days to create amazing emails and social media posts, but let's get into the building mode. There's so much out there, and we need more women. We need more diverse perspectives into the creation of this technology, not just being bare consumers of it. So I'm actually quite proud that, just to give you an impression, we're alive for about 4 months now, and in total, we've reached around 1,000 women already. It's absolutely amazing. It's an amazing milestone to see that women are joining, vibe coding sessions, meetups, hackathons, women that want to take part in the courses, they want to be trained. But also even just joining sessions like this, where I exchange a lot of tips and some practical knowledge that you can use just to get you inspired and get you building with AI, because there's so much things that you can do these days. So make sure that you visit our LinkedIn page, Ladies Build with AI. And if you just want to read more information about this community, this platform, what is that you can do, how you can engage, make sure that you visit ladiesbuildwithai.com. And if you are based in the Netherlands, and maybe you want to close this year with a pretty bold move, or maybe you already want to start with some good New Year's resolutions, make sure to check out AI Build Labs, because we have a couple of spots left in December. What it is, it's a full day work group workshop. So for 8 hours, we meet in Amsterdam at a nice location in the center of Amsterdam. Like-minded women that maybe don't necessarily have tech skills. We really start from zero, so don't worry about that. But in this small group, we go through all different product principles, different concepts and frameworks to get you up to speed with vibe coding. We build in Lovable, but also other AI coding tools. And you don't only learn, you don't only engage with other women that are also curious and want to learn, but you also may come with your idea, and we'll make sure in this full day to build it, to support you. And then you're off to, you go home and you've actually built something which is live. So make sure to check this out. It's called AI Build Labs. It's on the website. And as I said, a couple of spots left, and I'll see you hopefully soon in Amsterdam. And now we're going into Lovable, because as I said, it's the vibe coding app, probably of 2025. Many of you have heard about this tool already, and they call themselves the AI software engineer. I like to call it a tool which allows me to put different pieces of software together, kind of like stacking different blocks together to allow me to build a small system that works, right? That works for me, that works for my users, whatever it is. And you now basically have this ability to code if you're non-technical. You have the ability to really code at a very simple architectural level. So no, you're not going to build, the next Netflix, or you're not going to like rebuild your old enterprise systems that are probably very old school and slow. But you will have the tools to help you build something super simple. Or at least something that is, working on let's say MVP level, or like very small scale, let's say, absolutely possible. And you have also this opportunity right now, also as a non-tech person, to leverage your AI and not only kind of help you solve your problems, but also speed you up and maybe increase those efforts and accelerate, and be just more creative, more productive, whatever this means for you. So someone said, I've heard this analogy and I actually really like it, is when we're talking about vibe coding in general. The analogy to see a chef working at a top restaurant, right? So those are our amazing software engineers. And then you have the level of home cooking. So we're now getting those, like, the kitchen utensils, let's say, the cookbooks and the processes and inspiration to be also able to, cook well at home. And of course, we won't all be chefs at home. I think everybody wants that, but the reality is somehow different. We haven't had put so many hours as chefs did, and we don't have that much experience. But we have those two, let's say, levels, and you have your software engineer world, and then you have vibe coding, which is more the home cooking equivalent to that. So it's easy to build very simple websites. And before, it used to be a challenge to plug in the backend, especially in Lovable, because there were tools like Cursor where it was actually quite easy to do. But in Lovable, plugging backend, plugging in some external apps, plugging in AI was always kind of clunky, or maybe not really working as well as you would think, especially if you're non-technical. You had no idea what was happening, and maybe you want to plug in your shop or something else, and it was quite a challenge. And this is really changing rapidly. And if you will be following Lovable, what they've been doing in the last few months, and if you maybe also checked out their partnerships, who they're working with and how fast they also ship new features, to me, it's really clear that it's just not a simple prototyping tool. Probably many of you have seen that a lot of kind of competitors are coming up in the market, and they only just say vibe code your next prototype, and kind of the scope of or let's say the value of that tool only stays within prototyping. But I don't feel like Lovable is going in that route. They really want to help you build products, and prototyping is just one use case, but they really want to go further than this. So hopefully in the upcoming 30 minutes, I can show you and give you kind of a sense of what you can do in Lovable. I'll show you some of the examples, and also how it's really gotten better, because I've been doing this already for some time. And then I noticed that a couple of things that were not possible before are now there, or they're now being added. So hopefully with this webinar, you'll get the idea of where vibe coding in general is kind of going. And maybe if you thought this year, because I've heard those voices and I had those colleagues and people that were saying vibe coding is just it's just a kind of silly gimmick, I'm not wasting time on this. Hopefully with this webinar, you'll get the sense of what is it that you can now do, where is it going towards 2026, and that maybe next year you'll actually have a nice kind of incentive to maybe actually start trying it, because again, it's becoming really, really powerful. And Lovable is growing really, really rapidly. If you look at this curve, I think it's the fastest startup in the world, because they've reached $100 million in AR in 8 months. That'll be cool. And they've just turned 1. So they had a birthday celebration, and the CEO mentioned during the Web Summit in Lisbon, I think 2 weeks ago or somewhere this month, that they have 100,000 new products built every day in Lovable. So it's really, really crazy. I think this number will go even higher next year. The adoption is just so huge. And I really like the the mission that they have, because it's a very simple mission. They say, like, software is all around the world. The world is really being digitized, but less than 1% can actually code or are software engineers. And it's a really simple mission. They really want to democratize software engineering. They really want to give those tools to people like you and me that are non-technical, and just make it super accessible so that we can also solve problems, build things, be creative. And yes, like, again, what I've mentioned, simple things are absolutely doable. Building your HR system or Salesforce might not be as easy, but who knows where they're going to get, because this is a really bold statement. It's a really clear, bold mission. And I don't feel like with this mission they're saying we want to be the best prototyping tool in the world. They really want to enable this ecosystem where everybody can actually start building. So what's new in Q4? For those of you that maybe have joined my sessions before, you've noticed that in Lovable, you now have this ability to plug in AI intelligence. So if you maybe want to build something which is AI native or has some kind of AI intelligence running in the backend, so before you kind of had this logic, like if this then that, and you would program it, and you just have very clear input, clear output. But now if you maybe want to have AI to actually decide what this output will be, generate something, and kind of think on its own, you can do this much simpler. Because before, Lovable allowed you to plug into different LLMs to kind of have this AI intelligence power your product. But it's just been such a such a horror to a non-technical person, because you would first have to create an account, for example, with OpenAI. You would have to top up your credits, and I mean the business credits, where you would be, for every token you would be paying. So you had to do that. Then you had to generate API keys, save them somewhere safely, and then kind of like exchange, and a lot of different steps will be in between just to set this up. And if you're a non-technical person, you can really mess up on absolutely every step, and that's becoming really frustrating. So right now what you do is, when you prompt in Lovable and you want to generate something with AI powers, actually Lovable kind of figures out on its own, and it starts to plug it in automatically. So you don't even have to put in any API keys. You don't have to even say what is it that you actually want to start. It will just enable it automatically. So that's great. One thing I do have to say, because I got trapped in that at the beginning, because I thought, like, oh, cool. So they're now just auto-selecting, model depending on my task, but they only work with Gemini and ChatGPT at this moment, as in the Lovable AI extension. So if you, let's say, really want to use Sonnet or any of the models from Claude, then you have to do it in a different way. But still, they have pretty good models out there as well. And then you have Lovable Cloud, where before, if you needed a database, some storage or some simple real-time updates, yes, they already had Supabase integrated. So you could really click on Supabase, and then you'd have to get out of Lovable. You have to go to Supabase, create your account, create a database there, select your plan, and then kind of go back to Lovable. And right now, this also is much more seamless. So they really want you to stay in this one app, right? So they want you to stay in the Lovable interface and be able to, with one click, just kind of go into go into setting up simple backend, like your storage, your so authentication, real-time updates, and things like that. So this is the first thing. It was a pretty big launch, and that's why I'm talking so much about it. But you can now be able to really plug in your backend, and it's very like seamless experience, I would say. And then we have integrations, because if you were following Lovable and who they're partnering with, it's really interesting to see that they now, for example, partner with Shopify. So yes, you can build your online store in Lovable. You can claim your Shopify store or create a new one. I really feel like we're maybe kind of leaving the whole CMS era. I don't know, like challenge me on this one, but if you can now just create your products straight from Lovable, generate imagery, generate descriptions, make it SEO, geo friendly. If you can also like create different layouts of your store in Lovable, I don't really see the point of like going and searching through your like, shop templates and web templates. Because you can now generate them yourself, and then you plug into your backend, like in this case, Shopify e-commerce store, and even generating checkout funnels. Like this is much, much simpler than it used to be before. So interesting how this is playing out. And then other partnerships, Gordio, where Lovable, whatever kind of what's being launched live, they ensure that it's a safe environment. So they're also scanning for any scam and phishing activities. And for product managers out there, if you're in Atlassian stack, so you're using Jira, Trello, or Confluence or whatever, you can also much seamlessly work between Lovable and, let's say, whatever you've prototyped in Lovable, you can plug in back to your Confluence pages. So that's a pretty cool addition. The last thing, it's just been launched recently, the prompt suggestion. So for those of you out there that are already kind of practicing vibe coding, you've maybe noticed in Lovable that for every iteration, every change that you add in Lovable, they now come up with those auto-suggested prompts that might be relevant, kind of like a follow-up to what you've done. So it just saves time. It just saves the back and forth, because you don't have to think about, okay, what is it I can ask next? Or, you just have to like type a lot. They now just give those auto-suggested prompts that you can click on, and then it just rolls again. So pretty cool additions. They're doing a lot again. And what I said, what you've maybe now are not seeing doesn't mean that they don't have it already on their release for next year. But there are also other vibe coding tools, and I like to compare Lovable with those vibe coding tools to give you like a little bit more of a broader picture. So Cursor, I like working with Cursor because it just gives me more flexibility, more kind of custom functions. So if you feel like you can maybe level up your vibe coding game, I would really suggest using Cursor as well. Because things even like adding, so plugging into MCP servers to kind of really use just one destination. So for example, you want to work from Cursor, you don't want to switch between different tab systems. You want to like gather all of this knowledge in your Cursor project. Then you're plugging into MCP servers. And I haven't seen that in Lovable. Doesn't mean that they're not in like going to build this, but at least Cursor has this. If you also feel you don't know what I'm talking about when it's about MCP servers, don't worry, because the previous webinar, so the one we did together with Rogier, the Cursor ambassador, back in October, I even demoed a use case where I plugged into MCP servers to do my SEO from Cursor. So make sure to check this one out. But Cursor just has like more, let's say, intuitive, just very like easy to use if you're already into vibe coding or programming yourself. So like shortcuts. You can also switch between different AI models. So what Lovable has like just to Gemini and ChatGPT, Cursor has a much more, a much bigger scale of different models. And I also like their planning mode, because that's where you really can kind of do the prep work before you're building. And prep work is super important if you want to build something sensible and something that generates value. So check that webinar from October, because also Rogier mentioned some of the tips on how you can use the plan mode. The thing I just don't recommend for people that are starters, non-tech, that don't want to see the coding editor, Cursor is not targeting non-tech people. It's not their target audience. So that also is reflected in their products. If you feel you might be, stepping into something that you don't feel comfortable with, then I'll say stick to tools like Lovable. Absolutely fine. V0 is actually a really good one as well, because it's from Vercel, and it's the same founder as the founder of Next.js. So if you've heard anything about React or Next.js before, this is the stack that operates on those programming languages, the components, the kind of additions to your project. That are very much industry standard. And I like to work in V0 as well, because they just have this huge marketplace of different, kind of apps that I can plug into. It's just much more choice. So even in the databases, Lovable allows you to select a database, but it's Supabase. But then if you maybe want to work with different databases, you have a bit more choice in Vercel. And I also heard that they're going to work with Convex. So if there are any people that already use Convex databases, they're big fans of them, then Vercel will also have that integration. I like also the versioning. So let's say if you iterate, you change things on your website, product, whatever this is, they have a much more visible versioning feature within the preview panel, whilst Lovable has that as well, but it's a little bit hidden. It's called history, and it's hidden in the chat interface. So you have to do a couple of clicks to find it, whilst V0 really has it right in front of you, so you can select different versions. Maybe if you've messed something up and you want to go back, it's much easier to switch, whilst in Lovable you have to do a little bit of searching. The thing is with V0, and I've experienced that with some of my students as well as myself, is that V0 tends to do really weird things when your chat really extends. So it does have a limited memory. It forgets. It's just the context, is so limited probably within V0 that it does tend to maybe rewrite things. Just not really listen very well, and just forgets in general. And with every iteration, you might notice that the things that are working fine, but you don't want to change, are actually being changed, because it just kind of forgot the whole context of your product. So be careful with that. There are also some tips on how to do that. I'll show them maybe at the next webinar. How to manage context windows in vibe coding apps. We have Replit. I actually really like Replit as well. I don't use it that much, but they do really focus on kind of taking vibe coders by the hand. And I really appreciate that for people that are absolutely starters to that game. They do explain things better. They also allow you to work with the plan mode, so kind of helpful in this preparation. You can ask questions, you can really plan everything step by step, and then go into the building mode. You can also add tasks into queuing systems. So maybe for those of you that are already vibe coding, that if you're putting something out there and then it says thinking and generating, and then it's kind of depending on which tool, it could be a matter of seconds, but it could be a matter of minutes. Sometimes it's okay, what do I do in the meantime? And it can be frustrating because I usually put something out there and I know it will need some time to build. And then I just maybe do some kind of a chore. And then I come back, or I forgot that I was building something in the meantime, or I got distracted. And then I have to go back to it again. So here, with the queuing task, you can actually start to put things in a queue, so that things will maybe take more time in general, but that at least you've put everything already out there. So it's going just to build things from A to Z as you instructed. I really also like when they're coming back with something that they've built, that's you have this checkpoint, and you can read things what's been changed, how many lines of code have been changed, how much time they've spent on it, and also what was the cost of that change. So it's really like transparent, very intuitive, because even after a change, it's going to ask you those kind of follow-up questions, you know. So sometimes when people are new to the game, or they are like, they haven't built anything before, maybe they're not product managers, they have absolutely no experience in that field, you might be like, okay, so I build it, and what now? And then, you know, you will get those questions like, did you test the button, or how do you like the look of this, or is this mobile responsive? So it's giving you some tips on kind of follow-up actions on what you can do to test the new iteration. So I really appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is that they ask you to charge for deploying things. So if you want to publish something to the internet, the production, so deployment is not included in the starter plan. And a lot of those other apps, they allow you to publish to a live domain. It's going to be a domain which is from that tool. So for example, Lovable will always include Lovable in the link. You can change that if you have your own domain, of course, but just even like changing something and then pushing it, you know, publishing it basically back to the internet, you can have that in free plans in a lot of those apps, but Replit is asking money for this. So that was kind of an X for me. So now let's go into the demos, because I want to give you some of the examples, show you of what can be built with Lovable. And I first want to start it on a team level. So let's say you're in a company that actually is happy to use Lovable and they are encouraging it. And then you probably might ask yourself, so what can I build? The first starting point is really building new features. It could be on a prototype level, so maybe you all have an idea to build some kind of new feature into your existing products, or maybe you want to upgrade your website a little bit. And that's a good starting point to, you know, to brainstorm, ideate, to prototype in Lovable, to kind of see like, how this feature would actually look like. I'll show you one of the things in Lovable. So let's say, you know, maybe you're, I don't know, you're a styling agent, or you're a design agency, or maybe you have a store with home renovation stuff. I don't know how it's called, sorry for that. And maybe you want to add some extra stuff to the experience of, you know, what is it that you can do as a user? You want to renovate a particular room. In this case, it's a kid's room. And then, you know, once you get inspired of what this makeover would look like, you have, you know, a couple of products down below that you can already buy from that store. Pretty cool feature. So I built this together with Gemini models. So here I upload a sample photo. It's not my room. And I'm going to say that I want to renovate or make over a girl's room. I'm going to pick, I have, you know, a selection of different styles. In this case, I only have 3, but then I'm going to select a theme, which is a princess and fairy tale theme. And I'm going to get this generated design of a makeover based off the image that I just have uploaded. I have here design ready, so I can actually scroll down below, and you can see I have this slider that, I mean, this is a really terrible image, so don't worry about that, but I can actually slide to the right and I can see a new version of that room if it was, if it had a makeover in the fairy tale style. You know, looking pretty cool. I also have a chat interface, so I can actually chat back and forth as a user to, let's say, change this makeover a little bit. So maybe I want to say things like, okay, remove the baby bed, and add a toddler bed. Let's see if actually this redesign will be changed. I'm not sure how this will work exactly, but it should be able to understand my command and also regenerate a new makeover, or at least update the design. So it actually did that. So that's pretty cool. So you can see you can kind of go back and forth with this. So maybe you can also be like, add some pink curtains in the window. And let's see if it's going to regenerate this makeover. So this is, you know, this is a nice playful extra feature if it's on top of your services. So you may be doing some renovation services, you're providing that, or maybe you are a online store. Hey, I actually got some curtains, really nice. This could be a nice addition to the shopping experience for your customers, and you can already prototype this with Lovable. And again, I'm not a developer myself, but I could be able to create something simple as this. And I assume they're working with Google Nano Banana models. So, because I have to say that those images are actually pretty nice. So they're pretty intelligent how they're being regenerated. And yeah, that's one of the cool features. And then going back to the next use case when we're still in the team setting, right? So we're in a company, we have Lovable that we can use as a group. What is it that we can build together? Building internal productivity tools. It's also a really cool thing to do as a team. So in this case, I've built something very simple. So let's say you are part of internal communications team, and there's a lot of talks about AI. Maybe you have a Slack channel where people are sharing different insights or news or links or whatnot. Or maybe you just, you have a couple of news that you want to sum it all together and send people every week. So to your internal employees, you want to send them a newsletter about AI. I'm going to, in this case, because I've already tested out myself, so I'm just going to paste this link, or at least paste like 10 different URLs that I've got from Perplexity. And I'm going to summarize all the, let's say, knowledge from those links in a very simple newsletter preview. So again, it's nothing fancy. It's just a kind of like, a release of all the news that I should know for this week. I want to spend, that much time on designing the beautiful template because it's being sent to our internal employees. But what I like about this one, because we're kind of going, level up when it comes to vibe coding and integrating. So I'm actually going to send this to MailChimp. And what I've done already with prompting in this case, and I've done this in Lovable as well, is I said like, hey, this is my MailChimp account and I have an API key. Can you please plug it to my existing MailChimp account? So I'm not going, like in this case, I'm not going to copy the whole thing and then paste it into MailChimp template and then send everything from MailChimp. Like I want this to be a little bit more intelligent process. So I'm actually, and hopefully you'll see this. So I need to, again, I need to log into my MailChimp in this case, but I think if I just quickly log in to show you, it should be able to create a campaign. So I have to do it again, I think. That's the thing when you're demoing stuff live. It's always interesting, a little bit nerve-wracking. But there you go. You see it created this campaign. It's not sending, thank God, but I do have what I've generated. I can also plug into some existing templates. But the fact that I can already do this without me setting things up is amazing. And I've done this with Lovable as well. So those were the Teams use cases. I also want to show you some of the examples that we've built with other women from Ladies Build with AI sessions. Again, a very good starting point is when you are feeling new to the game and you're like, oh my God, where do I start? Just build something very simple. And probably the best way to start is build your own website, build a site about yourself. I talk to a lot of women that have their own businesses that are maybe consultants or coaches, or maybe they're changing jobs and they just want to kind of be out there. And when recruiters are Googling their name, they just want to have a very simple one-pager about themselves. And again, try this as a nice exercise to build a website about yourself, showcase your work, or just have a very simple functionality of contact me when you want to contact me. Add some content, make it SEO, geo friendly, as they call it right now. And even if you're buying, let's say, your own domain name, right? Because your name as a domain probably will not cost you that much money. if you don't have a very common name, and then plug in through Lovable, and there you go. You already have a website about yourself, and you've probably spent like, half a day on it, maybe, if you're very dedicated. That's a really good starting point. I'm going to level up a bit. So we did this together in a group of 10 women last week. So we were actually building a full stack app in this case, because we wanted to have some kind of a search engine that allows us to discover what are the sounds of the city. So let's say if you're traveling to a new city and you want to kind of check like what are the vibes of that city, you're going to get a list of vibes that are correlated to that city. So we have some AI intelligence plugged into this product. And then based on that list of the vibes, we're going to get artists that are actually matching them. So let's say if we were, again, like typing, let's say Berlin in this case, I'm going to give one example. I should be able to... So I have the vibes of electronic, techno, and house, and I'm getting some of the local artists, I guess. And I also have a little summary about why AI decided to choose those vibes that are related to Berlin. And then if I open it in Spotify, I should be able to, there you go, to actually plug into real data. So I have not some sample data, which is great for prototype. I actually want this to be, I want this to be a working app. I want this to maybe even have as a side hustle and generate some money with it. So you will be able to, if I go back, let's check Amsterdam. You should be able to get the vibes of Amsterdam, and well, those are probably very typical artists from the Netherlands, again, opening them in Spotify, but I'm also able to save it in my playlist. And if I go to my playlist, I already have a couple of ones from the previous sessions, but you can see that I can save it under my account. So not only I can create an account, I can save my playlist, but I can also search. I have a little bit more intelligent search than just, a basic, like I'm looking for Merton Garrix, like I'm looking for Amsterdam, show me what are the vibes related to Amsterdam, and then the artists that are kind of related to this. So really, really cool that we've managed to build this in an hour and a half. And many of those women, they've never seen anything like this before, like no Lovable, no coding, nothing. And then yet we managed to do this. And the last one, the thing is, what I want to give with this one, again, it's a simple website, but what I want to explain as a use case is that I had somebody who came in and they had a very complex digital landscape at their work, and they had a lot of different websites, and she wanted to prototype something which was working as a destination hub for a lot of those different customer groups and different websites. It's a super simple prototype, but what I want to give with this example is that we discovered that for her, it helped her to kind of bring everybody around that prototype in meetings. So she came in and they had discussions, and she noticed that just the whole dynamics kind of changed because people were now kind of talking the same language. You can be sometimes stuck in those projects or meetings where everybody they all have different assumptions, they have different opinions about things, and it takes so much energy to just get everybody back into back to the drawing board, kind of get them back to talking the same language. And because we have meetings where we all exchange, right, we all talk with our language, we sometimes get lost in translation, especially now with AI. We will be just so like intertwined with technology, and people might be using terms in a different way or in a wrong way as well, and we might just misunderstand each other. And I just like to, when I talk to companies and when I talk to teams, I like to talk about vibe coding and prototyping as a kind of means of communication. Because no, it's not just kind of like show, oh, this is what it's going to look like. The simple wireframes. Like, it's just actually a means of expressing yourself, because you are really visualizing something that you're talking about. And it can actually make your meetings really creative. People might be much more engaged because suddenly now you're all in this interface. And if you have a discussion, well, let's put it into prototype. Let's vibe code it together. And you don't need to like manually change code to change that prototype. You can now just literally, you can even talk to it, and then suddenly, during the meeting, you have maybe a much faster outcome, or at least the result of what you were discussing, in a different way than just talking and making meeting notes around it, and then having all those alignments and meetings afterwards to just make sure that everybody understood what you were talking about. This is so time consuming and so energy consuming, and in this way, prototyping and vibe coding can really save a lot of hassle. So hopefully this inspires you as well. And I'll wrap up with some of the cases that I do on my own. So it's hopefully safe space to share them in this group here. Again, simple website. I am working on something together with a friend of mine. We have another network that we've built where we live together, and we need some kind of information site where people can find more information, the mission of the network that we have, about the founders, and also just to advertise our new events that are coming up. So if you're around on the 15th of December, come for a drink. But then again, this is just a work in progress. We're still kind of fine-tuning this together. And the fact that we can all do this right now, from a very simple system like Lovable. And we can also do this in different languages. So multilingual sites are also possible right now. Very, very cool. And my second one, I want to show you a Halloween game, which is a funny insight that I got when I was building together with my 6-year-old. We were just bored on a Friday afternoon when we were waiting for the Halloween evening. So we actually just prototyped, or actually built, because it's still working. I'm going to show you this game. And I've built this, I have to say, I built this in Google AI Studio because I was testing it out. Also really, really impressed with how they're leveling up vibe coding game for the users. And you can now just, it's a very simple kind of like, I don't know if it's Tetris or like 80s style kind of retro game, right? So you have to collect points. I really am bad at this. My 6-year-old was way better than I. So just to show you what it can do when it's game over. So kind of like, you have this kind of 80s vibe in it, and it works. So yeah, what I did with Google AI Studio is when it was done, when I've exported it as a zip file, I've plugged it into Lovable. So I just said, okay, this is the zip file of a finished app. Just rebuild this. So kind of like, this is what I have. Just those are all the parts, and just make sure that you put it all together. And I'm not sure if I have a link. Maybe. I do. This is the result that I had in Lovable. So you can see that it was a bit like, the pumpkin is kind of there, but you can't really say it's a pumpkin. So even with something that I've imported from a different tool, so I had all those different files, all the code was in there, and I've plugged into Lovable, it was just not working as it was, on let me show you, on Google, right? So that's a different kind of look and feel than this one. So I got a tip from somebody who said, have you actually tried with JSON? So I took that zip file from Google AI Studio, and I've asked to turn it into a JSON file, and I put this one into Lovable because it was just a little bit more structured way of building, and I finally got to that result. So actually, I was really happy with this tip, because JSON in that case just works way better than me simply adding an attachment, so the zip file, and saying, rebuild this. It was just a much more sophisticated, let's say structured way to tell Lovable to build this game. So yeah, you can also build games with Lovable. Absolutely fine. And the last one, I don't want to share this one, like demo it entirely, because it's a little bit more private. But also, if you have things about, tracking your habits, Lovable creates a lot of amazing trackers. Also, just kind of to maybe check your health patterns, right? Kind of the things you notice, the behaviors, and maybe you want to, add some more kind of the weekly insights overview, things that maybe you note down on a piece of paper. You can now also create, like digitalize it and maybe make it a little bit more intelligent. So I actually use it a lot, and I can now see, for example, that I really, really suck at going to bed at a particular time. So things that, I thought that maybe was not happening, but now I can actually see like, hey, you are really really bad with your sleep. Even those things can really help you with, your habits and resolutions. And we're now going to this time of the year where we'll be thinking about resolutions. So maybe actually Lovable can help you with sticking to them. So again, I'm wrapping this one up. A lot of different use cases, the fun ones, the productive ones, the creative ones. It's up to you right now. So I will just encourage you to really, really start building now, because even if you feel like, nah, Lovable doesn't have this feature, or it's not so good at this thing, I'm sure that they will be adding this to their releases, and it only really gets better because I can see such an improvement in the last couple of months. So they are really getting better. And if you feel like you don't want to put something out there which is not perfect, like that's just not the approach. We've in this phase right now where people are really putting things that are not perfect out there, and they make a lot of money. And it's just about the velocity. Don't be afraid to launch something which is not perfect. You might be faster to validate it, to kind of get feedback on it, and kind of de-risk it, and just putting it into smaller phases, and you'll get into that perfection. But like, just to know that you now have those tools to at least get you started, it's amazing. And then the third one is where, if you're a domain expert in a particular thing, or you have maybe just like a really, really clear frustration that has somehow never really been solved before, and you pair this with vibe coding, it's amazing. I've seen 2 weeks ago, I've been to a meetup where people that are absolutely non-technical, but they have a particular idea, or, particular taste in something, or maybe just, the expat life. So when you're going into a different country and you just maybe struggle with something, you can really maybe now solve this with vibe coding. And I was really impressed with some of the demos out there, and how creative you can get, and it's magical. It is. So try it. We have a couple of minutes left. If you feel like this is really interesting, and you also maybe want to check out what are the upcoming events from Ladies Built with AI, because again, I do webinars, but I also do in-person events as well. Make sure to scan this code. It's just a link to the newsletter where you can sign up, because I do send newsletters with a lot of different tips and news and summaries of tools, as well as some information on the upcoming events. So make sure to check it out. And we still have a couple of minutes. So I do have the Q&A. If anybody wants to ask a question, we do have a live chat. And by the way, if you feel like you don't have this live chat right now, you have to probably log into YouTube. So I'll stay here for a couple of minutes. You can log into YouTube, then refresh this webinar. I'll be still there. And then you should see this live chat window. And that's where you can actually add a question. And I will answer it live, because we still have 10 minutes left. I'm going just to maybe stop sharing this one. And well, thank you as well for attending the webinar. So I have also a couple of thank yous. So really appreciate it that you come here, and that you listen to me talking so much. Hopefully I'm inspiring you as well with the examples, and also share your creations. I'm happy to feature them as well in the next episodes. It's always really cool to see what people are building. And again, if you feel you have a question about the session, or Lovable, or just vibe coding in general, then use the live chat window. Again, repeating myself, you have to be logged in YouTube to be able to see that. If you feel like, I cannot really ask a question, like, you're probably not logged in. If you also maybe joined later and you don't want to miss the information that I shared before, this webinar will be on YouTube. So if you check the Ladies But With AI channel, it should be there, so you can go back to it. Maybe I explained something very quickly and you want to repeat it, go back to it. It will be there in a bit. And I don't see any questions coming up. So I'm going to say for now, thank you so much. And those were the examples from Lovable. That was also the news, what's coming up, what's new in Lovable. And again, I'm doing this webinar every single month, so I'll probably see you in December with something new. And if you also have ideas or any questions that you want me to feature for the upcoming ones, let me know as well. And for now, I want to thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll see you next month.